So when they decided to deny me a teaching credential, I said, A lot of my friends said, well, that's just a job. Forget about it. So I said to myself, well, now, what should I do about this? And I said, well, why did they not want me to teach? Because they had already denied me a teaching credential, a measly teaching credential where you make $36,000 a year. You know what I mean? Because the FBI had a program called Counterintelligence Program. And it was designed to kill leadership. They run 3 assassination attempts on me. This finger here, they sent 18 people after me. I'm a martial artist, kung fu. And then crazy fu. You know what I mean by that? Crazy-ati, you know what I mean? Even before I do martial arts, I do some crazy-ati, you know? Sent a guy to shoot me with the .45. He was a guy that I trained with. I have no fear. That's a part of what comes in my family. And I want to say this to you. Fear is a myth. Fear's been bred into you. Babies don't come into the world with fear. You know what I mean? Then they sent a master agent into my organization. And that was what you call a psych ops specialist. Those are the best ones. Those are psychological operations specialists. They're designed to play on your weaknesses. If they get you one weakness in your group's finished. And this guy was a killer agent. He killed off the Simeonese Liberation Army, burned them alive. I spotted him. So when they were going to deny me tenure, I sat back and thought, because my friend said, it's just a job. I said, well, why? What am I going to do about that? I said, well, I have a chance to close the door and do whatever I want to with these young people. Then when I'm finished, I can go in my community and organize. In other words, the system's going to be paying me to undermine it. I said, I think I'll go for it. Dr. Asa Hilliard was on my HRT committee. He wrote the introduction to my book, Return to the African Mother Principle of Male and Female Equality. He gave me a lot of support. My community, the reason I stand here is my community backed me. So what I want to say is that first, my scholarship is a result of community activism. And one of the reasons why I like Brother Imhotep is I've decided that in the work I'm doing now, I decided to retire. I never planned to retire. I decided to retire because I want to put more time into organizing. My best organizing was full-time, 18 hours a day. So I want to get back into that. So when you throw stuff out of the universe, things come back. So then Imhotep calls me. And I've had some other people call me from around the country. And what I like about young brothers and sisters like him and your organization here is that y'all is into Pan-Africanism, Afrocentrism, but you're also dealing with the real deal right now. You know what I mean? In terms of, I like the fact that he's got an economic development component. I like the fact that there's a study component. Because if you don't know your history, you don't know where you come from, you surely don't know where you're going. One of the weaknesses of black movements in the 60s is too many in the movement didn't know their history. You know what I'm talking about? So hooking up with Imhotep has been a real pleasure. And so I'm saying that I'm enjoying being here because of the sincerity of the brothers and sisters here. But on the streets, a lot of brothers, when they see me, they like to compliment me and they'll say, OG. You know what I mean? OG. And I say to the brothers, I understand that's a compliment. Thanks, brother. I understand that's a compliment, but I'm not an OG. They say, what are you? I said, I'm an OR. Said, what's that? I said, I'm an original revolutionary. You understand? Huh? I ain't no gangster. Gangsterism comes from Europe. Revolution comes from African people who are about to change something that's corrupt and upside down and crooked as a pretzel to something straight. And I ain't afraid of no gangsters, and I'm surely not afraid of the CIA and FBI. And then the brothers go, yeah. The civil rights movement, which is more correctly defined as a freedom movement, black people didn't call it a civil rights movement. The media called it that. Then we started calling it that. Like black people didn't call our music jazz. White people did. You know what I mean? And then we started calling it that. We didn't call it the blues, because if you think, what black person who's black as Ace of Spades is going to call his music blue? You know what I mean? White people get the blues. They turn blue. The blues ain't blue. Y'all hip to that? Huh? Country music is white people's blues. That is whining music. That's sad. That's the blues. Ours ain't that. You know what I mean? Huh? So the freedom movement of the 60s was a series of local movements. And when you had someone like King move into an area, that became national. It got a national focus. Or Malcolm, you know what I mean? But the fact is, it was a series of local movements The San Francisco, the freedom movement of the 60s came from the South. It was a movement against segregation. But there were movements in the North, and these movements were against not political segregation, but economic apartheid. This is a campaign for jobs. In '63, we put a boycott on downtown department stores, and it took 3 months. We ended up forcing them to hire blacks throughout all these department stores. Go ahead. In '64, we went back to supermarkets. We had reached agreements with them, and then we found out there was a supermarket in the Bay Area called Lucky's, and they hadn't hired anybody. So I led a campaign throughout the Bay Area to put a boycott on them, which is what we need now. You know, a lot of black men don't have jobs, a lot of black women too. But a lot of black men are working in jobs that barely can support themselves, hardly support a family, and they're working in service jobs. What you need to do is upgrade those jobs so that they pay a livable income. So some of this applies to today. So when we went back to Lucky's, they would not hire any blacks. They said they had hired enough, so we put a boycott on the whole Bay Area, about 24 stores. But in San Francisco, they crossed the line. They would not observe our line because it was a white area in which we were boycotting. So I came up with a strategy called the shop-ins. We would fill up grocery carts with groceries and buy no groceries. And we nearly put them out of business. And so go ahead. So we ended up forcing Lucky. In 1 year, they agreed to every new hire would be black or brown or red or yellow. Those are the best jobs we busted open, because those were union jobs with retirement and with medical benefits. So when I walk into those stores now and I see black people, brown, red, and yellow, they don't know how they got the jobs. You know, black people think they got something because they were qualified. Whatever you got, if you black in America, black folks struggled for it. You know what I'm telling you? Because we were qualified long before we got anything. And it wasn't until we started kicking behinds and putting our size 13 up the behinds of this white power structure that any change took place. So what I'm saying about that is I want you to understand, as a scholar, I'm an organizer, and the stuff I want to talk about tonight, which is the African family, I want you to understand that there's an application to this. In other words, this isn't just talk in the sky. This is talk that will walk. You all know what I'm talking about? Yeah. This has application to today. So I want to deal, first of all, with the African family. Go ahead, hit that. African families for African people in enslavement were far different than what we think. We have a myth about African people in enslavement. We have a myth that white people destroyed our culture. How many people really believe that white people destroyed our culture in slavery? Be honest, raise your hand. Don't lie. That they destroyed our culture in slavery. It's wrong. Destroyed it. Destroyed it. Oh yeah, you said, Most of us believe they destroyed our culture in slavery. Most people, how many people believe they destroyed our families in slavery? Raise your hand. Wrong. You understand? See, I'm here to go against the grain. See, y'all coming here to hear some woe is me discussion about the post-traumatic slave syndrome. Yes, there is some of that. Slavery did damage to black people. Yes, it did. But I'm here to tell you, the mess that you see in the black community right now, where you got young men racing to kill young men, that ain't got to do with slavery. That's only happened recently. That's a post-1968 phenomenon. In fact, it's a post-1980 phenomenon. You understand? Our people were not rushing to kill each other. This disrespect you see between the young and the old, that didn't exist during the enslavement process. Y'all hear what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
Huh? And I'm going to tell you something else y'all don't want to hear. There was no Willie Lynch. Yes, the white boy tried to brainwash you. Yes. But there was no, I'm a historian, baby. I'm an African philosopher, African and African-American historian, African political activist, theorist on African and African-American politics. I was not trained by white people. I was trained by our best black scholars, John Henry Clark, Asa Hilliard. I studied on John Henry, interviewed him the last 8 months of his life. And I've done my own study as John Henry Clark did. I was trained under masters. I have a DVD there on mastering the masters. We have a master system that beats anything that Harvard couldn't do. You hear me? And it comes from Africa. That hip-hop that you saw right there, that ain't no new culture. That's a new expression of an old culture, African-American culture. You got the baddest culture going in this country, but you don't know it. The whole planet knows it. If Angela Davis goes to Brazil, she can fill a stadium, 25,000 people. You hear me? James Brown said, "Say it loud and I'm black and I'm proud." And you had cats, black cats in Portuguese saying, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." Because in Portuguese, people are assimilated to want to be white. So this was a major message. When you had the Black Panther Party spread all over the world. Black Panthers in Israel. Can you imagine? Black Israelis. Because you had some black Jews. You understand?
Yeah.
You had blacks in India, Bali Panthers, Black Panthers. You had them all over the planet. But we running around here with our woe is me. Oh, they destroyed our family. Oh, they destroyed our culture. I want my reparations. You do want your reparations. They did enslave our people. And we did come out scarred in slavery. But I'm going to tell you this. We came out of enslavement with our humanity intact. Hear this. And can I prove it? Yeah, listen. You hear me? We came out producing some bad people. And in our culture, bad means good. Am I telling the truth?
Yes.
That's a part of this African mentality. Now, a new group of scholars, and some aren't new, Zora Neale Hurston, who was the pioneer in this, she was an anthropologist. She came from an all-black town in Florida, Eatonville. The guy that woke me up, Norman Brown, the brother who drove me to the airport, one of my best friends, came from Eatonville, woke me up, got me on my African consciousness, because he came out of a city where he never saw any white people until he moved to New York. You know what I mean? Norman's a little guy like this. He's about 3 years older than me, Norman Brown. You'll see him with his suspenders on. You'd say, oh, this is nobody. One of the smartest black men I know, but it's just a carrier of our culture. Cab driver at the time. I was in law school. He woke me up. See, this is part of the message I want to get across here. See, we say our culture was destroyed, but as Stokely Carmichael, later Kwame Ture, said, he learned to be proud to be black from everyday black people in Mississippi. You hear me? But Kwame Ture knew more about African history than they did, but they knew more about black pride than we did. You hear what I'm telling you? Because in the enslavement process, we recreated a culture here. And one of the things we did, we came in here as Yoruba, Santi. We didn't come as Africans because there wasn't a concept of Africa as a continent. We came as ethnicities. But over time, we saw we were catching hell, not because we Yoruba, Santi. We didn't remember what part of Africa we came from after 100 years or so. But what we said is, we're getting oppressed. Why? Because we black. And race consciousness became the glue that tied our people together. No Garvey movement without race consciousness. You hear what I'm telling you?
Do you understand that your mind creates all of this? You are the great mother. You are the great father.
Step into my center, anticipate a great weight when you enter. Pressure per adventure, I reintroduce you to yourself that's unfamiliar. Free you from indenture, force you to remember. Step into my center, anticipate a great weight when you enter. Pressure per adventure.